Hello, in today's video, I'm going to give a recap of what my life has been like and what I have been journeying through since my first week-long advanced retreat with Joe Dispenza. So if you watched my first video of what happened during that week-long, you would know that I definitely had my mystical experiences and some pretty profound shifts. And so at the time when that happened, I didn't really know what that meant. And so for me, it was kind of like this slow roll of shifts and changes that happened after I left the retreat. So while I felt like I was in a different body and I was seeing and perceiving the world a little bit differently, there were definitely a lot of things that needed time to shift and to integrate. And I was also in the middle or just beginning a subconscious coaching program that was about 6 months long to complete. So I was integrating a lot of that information and using a lot of those tools to help me in my own shifts. So while I was still doing Joe Dispenza meditations and sticking to that almost daily, there were other things that I want to be very transparent about that I was doing along with his meditations that I truly believe were really helpful in my own shifts and the transformations that I have noticed in the past 6 months. So after the week-long event, I was super stoked and had so much energy, as most people know after any type of retreat that they go on, being around so many different people and being really uplifted and having really big shifts. And so after the week long, I committed to getting up at 4 a.m. every single morning and doing either the pineal gland or the body electric meditation. And those are 1.5 hour long meditations. And I really, really loved getting up every single morning to do that. And so I did that for maybe like 1 or 2 months. And during that time period, I still had like shadows and things and stuff like that coming up, but it wasn't as challenging as it had been in the past. I was able to really shift my focus and my attention to more positive things and put my attention on my end goals. I was doing the meditations because as like an experiment, I really wanted to see what would happen if I did these 1.5 hour long meditations every single day. And what ended up happening was, while they gave me a lot of energy and I really enjoyed doing them, it just wasn't sustainable for me. I really enjoy being a night person and getting a lot of my work done at night, and there was really no reason for me to be up that early in the morning. And it got to the point where I felt like I was staying up late at night, and I was doing meditations before I went to bed at night. So it was just like there was so many things that I wanted to do in the day, and doing 2 or 3 Joe Dispenza meditations during the day just was not a sustainable thing for me. Like, I feel like when you reach a certain point in his journey of doing his meditations, that it really shifts on how you use the meditations and why you do them. And so for me, it was like I was doing all these meditations and like, why am I even doing these? And while they were helping shift a lot of different things for me, it made me realize that I didn't have to constantly be doing these all the time. Like, I could shift my mindset and I could shift my thoughts throughout the day. So I relied less on the meditations, and it got to the point where I ended up feeling so burnt out from doing his meditations that I took like a week off from doing everything. And this was maybe like in December or January. And I just was doing so much, and my body just really, really needed to rest. Like, it didn't want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I know that it's talked about, like, when you want to do it the least, that's when you should do it the most. But there's also a part about really listening to your body and tuning in your body and saying, this is actually what feels right for me, versus trying to force something and trying to do something from a place of lack or trying to prove yourself. And so for me, like, taking that break was able to really give my body some rest and to rejuvenate and find a different routine for myself. And so after I did that, I basically was doing maybe like 1 or 2 walking meditations every week or 2, and I would do a couple meditations throughout the week. And I started to tune into which ones I really enjoyed doing or which ones I wanted to do. And so that shifted a lot. And my favorite ones that I ended up doing mostly were the changing boxes. That was the meditation, the 20-minute one, and then there's a longer one that you can do as well. But those are the ones where I really felt like were the most profound and had the most shifts in my life when I was doing those meditations. And so for like the last few months, I ended up doing just maybe like a couple of his meditations during the week. And so it was less hardcore. I really wanted to take a step back from that because I was doing a lot of my coaching techniques like EFT tapping and parts work and NLP and time techniques and releasing a lot of emotions and limiting belief systems, and also in breathwork training. And so I was releasing so many things that I didn't feel like I needed to do meditation every single day. And so when I actually did the meditation, it was more like, oh, I'm bringing this thing that I'm struggling with, or that's a trigger, and I'm moving from one box to another. And so that's why I really gravitated towards the changing boxes for kind of like these things that were lingering for me. And it's actually shifted the types of meditations that I do recently. So during this time period, I actually signed up for an advanced follow-up, a 3 or 4 day advanced follow-up, and I did that in San Diego in March. Or was it February, March? Yeah, like a month or so ago. And that was like totally not planned. I signed up for it and kind of had a little bit of FOMO when I did it, but it just felt right. Like I felt like this was something that I wanted to do. And so I'm going to do a separate video on the advanced follow-up and what my experience was with that. But I wanted to do an experiment to see like if I didn't prepare like I did for the week long, where I was meditating every single day for 2 hours a day and doing this online course, like what would the experience be like for me, where I was listening to my intuition and doing the meditations in a way that felt good for me, and learning not to take on too much versus so doing a meditation like 2 or 3 times a day on top of everything else that I had going on. And I wanted it to be more of like an intuitive type thing. And so when I signed up for the San Diego retreat, I did a breathwork training, like an in-person breathwork training that was like really, really impactful and kind of draining in the sense that like I had a lot of things that came up that needed to be integrated, and I didn't really have that much time. I had like a few days after that training to go to the Joe Dispenza retreat, and I honestly felt like my body needed more time to rest and integrate. So the experience wasn't as like profound or big like the week long was, but there was still benefit. I still had mystical experience. It just wasn't as like crazy or wild, but I definitely think that was something that was okay. Like I went in without any expectations, and it really taught me that like more of the mystical experiences and things like that, they were more things that I don't have to like experience in every single meditation. So when I did have like a big mystical experience in the meditations, whether it was at the San Diego retreat or I would have ones like in the walking meditations and things like after the week-long retreat, like it didn't have to be every single meditation, and the integration and the shifts would happen after. And so for me, there were a lot of shifts and changes following the week-long retreat, and then even following the advanced follow-up, I'm noticing more and more shifts as well. And so there was a lot of other work, like I said, that I was doing, that subconscious rewiring work and doing the breath work as well, on top of the meditations. And so a lot of things were shifting and changing. But as you know, like the shifts and changes happen when you're doing the meditations, and so they might lead you to something to create more of a shift and change in your life. And so I really believe that the work that I was doing after following the retreat helped facilitate that, and helped me integrate and shift even more. And so the more actual tangible things that I'm going to share with you that happened after the retreat. So I had some health stuff that I was working with a specialist I'd been working with for maybe like 4 months or so, and it was like this ongoing thing. I was taking medicine for it every single day, and I was like, how long am I going to have to take this medicine for? And during the retreat, I got this download that like, just stop taking everything. Like, don't take your medicine. It was all natural medicine, so it wasn't like a prescription or anything like that, or I didn't really have like a doctor to say you need to cut back on this. But it was more of like this belief that I have the power and the ability to heal myself, and that I didn't need to really rely on that. And so for me, it became more of this mental or like belief system with a lot of conviction behind it, saying I didn't need this. And that was just something that I repeated over and over and over again in my mind. And so I stopped taking all my medication, or the medicine that I was taking. And in less than a month, I went back to my doctor, and she's like, yeah, you don't need these anymore. She did all this testing, and then I was like, oh, well, guess what? I haven't actually been taking it. And she was kind of shocked that I hadn't been taking the herbal or medications that had been given to me for the health issues. And I wasn't surprised, because I knew, because I felt like the shifts that happened during the retreat, I knew that I didn't need it anymore. And so for me, it wasn't like an instant healing. It was like this overtime of like really reiterating and staying strong in my mind that this is not a part of my reality anymore. And so it became this belief system of like, oh, that health issue, no, that must have been something that I remembered wrong, or that's just not who I am. And so it wasn't a part of my identity. It wasn't a story that I was playing over and over again and talking about with people. It was just something that was just like done and gone, and was not a part of my existence anymore in my body. And so it took like 1 or 2 months after the retreat for that to be fully resolved. So that was like a really big thing that helped me show how powerful that I am, as someone who can like heal herself. And I really love that about the Joe Dispenza meditations, because really you're going back into yourself to realize that you are that I am consciousness. You have that ability and that power within yourself to make these changes within your body, within your reality. And so that was really, really powerful for me to experience. And another thing that happened after I left the retreat is I started to do my hair differently. I started to dress differently. People didn't recognize me when I came back. Like, it was like this really weird experience. Even my mom sent me a message, and she was like, you look different. Like, there's something different about you. And I was just like, I don't know, like, just all the meditations I'm doing, I guess. And so that was something that really that shifted naturally, that I just went out and bought new clothes. I just started doing my hair differently, and it wasn't like an effort, or it wasn't something that I was really invested in or really thinking about. I felt really good about myself, and so I started dressing differently and doing things differently than I did before. And a lot of people were coming to me and telling me how different I looked, and that I was just like glowing and radiating. And I was just like, yeah, thank you. Like, I know it was just, there was definitely like this shift in my perception and how I viewed myself and my self-concept. After I left that retreat, there was definitely more confidence in myself. And so during that time, I was like really building up my business and building out a lot of content, and just like really, really busy, basically. And so all of these things that I was doing for my business, I'm really starting to begin to see the fruits of that labor and that work that I did following the retreat for the past 6 months, and starting to see a huge influx of clients coming in and people buying my products that I sell online. I sell like meditations and hypnosis tracks and online courses. And then I do transformational mentorship and human design readings and things like that. And so these are things that weren't like an immediate shift for me. It was kind of like this slow roll, and that's totally okay. I know everybody's journey is different. Some people experience like these profound shifts immediately, and I definitely experienced that in the moment. But the shifts in my 3D reality took a hot second to really catch up. But in the end, it was really like that conviction of knowing that I am powerful, knowing that I have the power to heal myself in order to shift and change my reality, even though I didn't know exactly what that meant. It was something that just organically and naturally happened because of the shifts and changes that happened internally. And so I really wanted to share that, because I know a lot of people go into these meditations saying, I want to heal, or I want to fix this, or I want to change this. And I'm finding like the more that I dive into the meditations and listen to Joe's work, is that he uses a lot of Neville Goddard, and he uses like if you have ever read Yogananda, the biography of a yogi, a lot of those concepts are rooted in like his language and how he speaks, and saying like, it is done, we are the I am consciousness, and really leading yourself back to that power, that God, that source that lies within you that we have just forgotten about. And so like coming home to yourself, and that was definitely something that was one of my mystical experiences in the week long that I had, is like coming home to myself and really experiencing what that meant on an ethereal level, or another level that is not of this 3D reality. And so really learning about that, and then reading, I think this is on Joe's website, but he mentioned it during the week long, about a series of books about the teachings of masters of the Far East. And so I've been reading those books, and I can see where he uses a lot of that language in the way that he teaches, and the concepts of what he's trying to teach us on our level of like people's different levels of consciousness, and kind of like building us up to remember like we really are that I am consciousness, we are source, we are God, and that is who we are at our core. And so these meditations help to bring us back to that state. And there's also a book called Transurfing, if you're familiar with that. Who is the author? It's like Nadim something or something like that. I'll put it in the description. But he talks a lot about, it's basically about like manifesting, like the rules of like manifesting in your life. And he talks about a lot about connecting the head and the heart. And so a lot of what Joe's work is he's bringing a lot of these other manifestation and like other teachings into his work, but using his own language, which is what a lot of, you know, different teachers use. They just put their own spin on it and how they view and understand it, and that's how they share it. And so I really appreciate that about Joe's work, because it seems to be really interconnected with a lot of other philosophies and concepts that are out there. And so I've been able to kind of step back and see that, and really see how it's all connected, and really start to integrate that, and saying like at the end of the day, Joe's teachings are really about belief, just like any other manifestation teacher will tell you, or anyone else. It's literally like, okay, do you believe this? Do you believe that you can heal yourself right now in this instant? If you do, you can change that right now in this instant. And Joe's techniques, he just happens to take you into the quantum space for you to remember that and to heal yourself. And so there's a lot of different ways to do this. And so at the core of it is just like the belief of, you know, whatever it is that you want to change or what you want to see in your external reality. And so what you do is you go inward, and once you start shifting and changing that inward, that's when you're going to start to see that external shift and change. So those are the biggest things that I've noticed in the past 6 months since attending his week-long retreat. And I'm sure I will go to more retreats in the future. I will say the week-long has been my favorite so far, just because there's more lecture, and I feel like that really helps ingrain his work and help you understand the meditations even more. I will definitely go into another week-long and advanced in the future, who knows when, but there's definitely something about going to these retreats and being in that collective energy, but also being so like going within, but having that collective energy around you to help raise all of that up, for you to have an even deeper experiences. So I don't think it's necessarily something that you need, but it is something that I personally found was really, really helpful. And the week-long that I went to, and even the advanced follow-up, there's definitely like a glow-up period after you leave the retreats where you just feel incredible. And that is how I have felt, like just so much creativity coming out of me after his retreats, and feeling super energized, and just feeling really, really good, and being much more intentional and focused on staying in my lane and what I truly wish to experience in my reality, and knowing that you can do that by going inward and shifting and changing that so that your external reflects that. So that is my recap of 6 months post week-long retreat with Joe Dispenza. And I'm really curious if anyone else has experienced this, or maybe you've had shifts and changes right on the spot, or if this has been kind of like a slow roll for you, or how things have changed for you. I would really love to hear your experiences, so leave a comment below. I know there are a lot of people who are curious about his work and how people are healing or fixing or changing themselves, and for me it's less about that, and I know Joe talks about this a lot, because honestly right now when I do his meditations, it's to amplify the feelings of love and gratitude that I have within me. It's because I want to do them, not because I'm necessarily trying to fix or change anything. And so I think the longer that you do his meditations, the more you will begin to see that shift within yourself, and do it for a different reason, because you're starting to tap into that inner joy that resides within you that you just weren't necessarily aware of before, and you just have that love that resides within you that you're tapping into and experience. And I know that I experience that on a daily basis. Every day I wake up so full of gratitude, and if I'm not feeling that great, then I meditate or do something. I have a lot of tools in my toolkit in order to shift my state. And so at the end of the day, it's just being more mindful, intentional, and knowing that you are responsible for who you show up as every single day, and then making that decision to show up as that person no matter what you are feeling. So again, kind of like reining in the mind and allowing your mind to tell your body what to do and how to move forward. And I know Joe talks about that a lot as well, is not allowing those emotions to take over your life, because we are stronger than that. We have tools in order to help us shift, and sometimes that takes time and it requires a lot of patience and grace for ourselves as well. So I hope that you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.